Well, good afternoon. It's so good to have you with me today, and I am delighted to introduce you to my guest today. It's Will Jones, and he's the Vice President for Advancement at LaGrange College, and I want to welcome you.
Thank you.
You're pretty new to LaGrange. You've been here about a year and a half, is that right? Something like that?
That's right. My wife Amy and I moved here with our 6 children about a year and a half ago.
So we want to welcome you, of course. You've been here now. You're one of us.
Thank you. All
So
right.
you've been here a while.
The official stamp of approval.
That's right, official stamp of approval. And so anyway, you were sharing with me right before the program some your life journey, and I love to bring different people on from our community. I really believe, Will, that we live in an exceptional community. I am excited to see, as a believer in Jesus Christ, and knowing that He is omnipresent and with us, to see this community and how it's shaping. It's a very unique place. Do you find it to be that coming from the outside? Did you sense that? We'll talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to tell your story. But did you sense that coming here? What brought you to LaGrange, do you feel like?
I think that what brought me here really was God's grace and mercy in my own family's life, to be honest with you. And I say that believing that LaGrange has been a great blessing to our family. And it is a very exceptional community. It's, I think, a very beautiful small city. I think there are wonderful people who live here. It's very welcoming. Of course, growing up in the South, it's wonderful to be back in the South. The people, I think, are friendly, and it's been wonderful the way that we've been received and welcomed into people's homes and into churches and to the local community. We're blessed to have the kind of resources that we have here with wonderful schools, a great college with LaGrange College, a wonderful technical college here with West Georgia Technical Community College, and it is a very, I think, special place. And the proximity to Atlanta makes it nice. If you have any need that LaGrange can't meet, then you have, of course, Atlanta to turn to.
Yeah, it is a great area. I just love having the privilege of being able to interview so many different pastors and so many wonderful believers, just talking about the Lord. I was in a restaurant just a couple of days ago and passed by and saw someone, praying before their meal and stuff. And a lot of times we get so busy in communities that we don't see that. But to me, that's one of the things I love about here, is we still seem to have that tendency. I want you to share your story. And I've heard that you've shared it several places, at the Rotary and several other organizations, but you have quite a life story, and I would like for you to share it because I think it's so timely now, especially where we are in the economic times of our country, some of the hardest economic times, certainly in my lifetime, and so I believe for many of the viewers out there may be some great grandmas and grandpas that remember the Depression and live through those times. But we're living in some difficult times right now. And so I believe you've got a message for the hour for our viewers. And we want to hear how God's grace and mercy and the power of education truly has transformed your life. So I'd like for you to share really basically where you came from. And of course, we know where you are today, but to bring us through that journey.
Sure.
Share with us.
I'll be glad to. I grew up in southeast Kentucky, and it was a place called Kinsey Holler. It's right on the border with Kentucky and Tennessee, thus its name, Kentucky, Tennessee, Kinsey. And it used to be a coal camp. So that, back in the early 1900s, there were probably about 1,000 families that lived in this little holler. And today, only about 60 families live in this holler. And if you haven't been to Appalachia, you don't know exactly what a holler is. If you can imagine a really narrow valley. So the mountains are close together. Usually there's a creek down the middle because of the water running down the mountains. And very often in Appalachia there'll be some relationship with coal. So an old coal camp or coal mine. My folks were from Appalachia. My mom grew up very near Kinsey Holler, as did my dad. And my parents got married young. They both dropped out of school in the 8th grade. My mom dropped out at the age of 13 to get married. Wow. And obviously that changed her life. My dad dropped out of school in the 8th grade to work in the coal mines to take care of his family. And our life was pretty traumatic. I think a lot of people have a view of poverty, not a lot, but some, of this romantic notion of poverty, the idea that we were poor and we didn't know it, and how blessed we
But you
were
knew
to
you
be
were.
poor. Well, in my situation, we were poor and we knew it, and it was what I would call a traumatic poverty. Our first house was my papa's coal shack, so it was literally the little shack where he kept his coal in the wintertime to keep it dry. And my dad and his brothers emptied that out, and they used cardboard to insulate this little shack, and they used cardboard to make the interior walls. So they turned one small room into 4 tiny rooms. We got our drinking water from the creek behind the shack, so we'd take a bucket down there and just dip up water. And then we'd use a gourd dipper to drink with. We had an outhouse till I was 16 years old, didn't have running water. And I was the first to be born when my mom was 15, so I remember very clearly when my mom turned 20 because I was 5 years old. The thing that changed for me, though, the thing that changed my life course, I think it gave me a life. It probably saved my life. We can talk a little bit more about that if you'd like. Sure. It was that when I was 8 years old, I was in 3rd grade, my parents started telling me, "You will be a college graduate." And they never strayed from that message. I heard that almost every day, several times a day, from my mom or my dad or both. I remember sitting with my dad, having dug a new hole for a new outhouse, and my dad would say, "Son, college graduates have indoor plumbing." Or we'd be walking back from Jellicoe, Tennessee, carrying our groceries because we couldn't afford a car, and my mom would tell me, "Son, college graduates have cars, so go to college." That was always the lesson, and it changed my life.
Well, I don't know if this is a good question, so how did you manage that, not having probably financially, did you start working early and putting back money? How did you accomplish, or did God, was it divine intervention? I mean, how did you go to college in that situation? There's a lot of people that
Sure.
look at it and say, "I can't afford to go to college."
Right.
So,
Well, it was a combination of things. Certainly God's grace and mercy in my own life. I mean, why would 2 8th grade dropouts have this vision for their son and for their daughters to attend college?
were you the only boy?
I was the oldest. I was the boy, and I have 2 sisters who are younger than me.
Yeah, okay.
And the message was the same for them as it was for
Yes.
me. You will be a college graduate. The help that I got along the way was of course in the form of a lot of people who intervened to help me navigate my way to and through high school, to and through college. My parents had no idea what high school was like, let alone college. So the first obstacle was get to high school and get through and graduate. And so my high school teachers and guidance counselors were so very important to me to help me understand what high school was like in terms of trying to select a curriculum, a course of study even in high school, to get the classes that I needed, the college prep classes, in order to be able to qualify to go to a good college. And then when it came time to apply to college, to help me fill out my applications, help me fill out the federal financial aid forms, those people were instrumental. And without them, the vision would have really just been a shallow or empty promise on my parents' part. You will be a college graduate. Well, that doesn't mean much if you can't get through high school. And then when I got to college, the same thing with my professors and administrators there, helping me figure out exactly what it was about, what it was like, how to get through it. People were so very important in helping me get through college.
Mm-hmm. Did you work your way, literally?
I had a job in college. I actually attended Berea College in Kentucky, and Berea is a unique school. It's one of 6 work colleges in the country, so
wow.
every student has a job on campus.
Oh,
So I
didn't know that.
Yes,
That's really neat.
It is neat, and it was helpful to me. Certainly, I didn't work off my education. I only worked 10 to 15 hours a week in addition to going to class and being involved in some co-curricular activities. But I did have a job on campus all 4 years, as did every student at the college.
Was your vision always to be in education? Did you want to teach?
I think my vision was always to make a difference in people's lives. And as I've worked at it over the years, education to me seems to be the place where I can get the greatest return on my investment, the biggest bang for my buck. There's nothing that can change your life more radically and more quickly than a good education, and that's been true in my life. My family, where I'm from in the holler, particularly the men, almost every one of them had some kind of drug and alcohol addiction. and they're either still drug and alcohol addicted back in the mountains, or they're in prison because of drugs and alcohol, or dead. Even my own dad died from an unintentional drug overdose. I had uncles who are dead because of drugs and alcohol. One uncle killed in a bar fight, another uncle who was drunk and high and walked in front of a car and killed. So when I say that education gave me a life and saved my life, I really mean it. I mean, it changed my life's course dramatically. And to be able to do what I do today in advancement is a blessing to me. It feels like a ministry. You know,
I'm sure it is.
To have the opportunity to help make education possible for other young people, it's just such a blessing, such a blessing.
Now, you said that you wanted me to ask you about actually saving your life.
Yeah, just as I just made the point.
Of that, talking about,
right.
Yeah, you could have ended up just being a drunk, or someone that drank,
a drug addict, or a drug dealer,
yeah.
or committed some kind of violent crime because I was drunk or high or needed to get more drugs and alcohol.
Well, this morning I think the Lord orders our steps. Of course, the Word says that, but it's really interesting that you talk about education. So I happened to be reading a book from a pastor that's part of the Heritage Foundation that's out of Manchester, out of Clay County, Kentucky. I went back and what he basically, in this book, it's a fabulously written. He talks about the life of Christ and, of course, his death on the cross, but then he goes into our heritage, our pilgrimage, the pilgrims that came, and how important it was for their children to be educated. And originally our country was very much established, and they gave their life that our education always go back to the principles of the Bible as far as government and education. And that's why they came here, was so their children could be educated and have the freedom. If they wanted to serve Jesus Christ, they could serve Jesus Christ. And so, and to see how important it was for education for their kids and what they went through, just rereading that this morning was like, wow. When we forget where we came from, we can't really navigate our future, I believe. It's very important that we go back there.
And it's interesting that you talk so compellingly about mission. That's what I hear you say, you're talking about. At LaGrange College recently, over the last 2 years, we've spent a lot of time thinking about what our mission and our vision is for the college. And one new addition to our mission statement is this notion that we will produce successful, responsible citizens. So our students will go on to be successful, responsible citizens who are committed to living lives of integrity and moral courage.
Isn't that something? I mean, you don't hear that in a lot of the colleges today.
You don't, and I think that's one of the things that makes LaGrange College very distinctive in higher education is our commitment to our students and their transformation. Our vision statement is one that reads, LaGrange College will be distinguished as a college that transforms the lives of its students and its community. So that's our vision. Our vision isn't to be ranked the top college in the South, even though we are ranked as one of the top colleges in the South. That kind of vision will be focused on the college. We want our vision to be focused on the students and the lives of the people in our community. And we want to be a part of helping to transform these young people into successful, responsible citizens who live lives of integrity and moral courage.
And our young people today, sometimes I think about it. Of course, I'm much, much older than you are, but I truly didn't even hear about marijuana until I was a senior in high school. And these young people today are so flooded with not only the technologies that we have and access to so much, so early in life that they really don't even hardly have an opportunity to be a child in this grandma's estimation, and so, and all the choices that they can make so quickly that would change their life to the negative instead of the positive. And so my hat's off really to commend you and the other educators that are committed to making that type of a commitment to helping, because it's vital for our future. It's vital for America's future.
Absolutely
that we have people to instruct and to teach our young people integrity and things, because many of them don't get it at home anymore.
And LaGrange College, I think, is a very important player in our part of Georgia and the South and the world. About 85% of our students are from Georgia.
Wow.
And 25% of our alumni live in Troup County, 75% of our alumni live in Georgia. So LaGrange College does, I think, a great job of recruiting students from throughout the South, particularly Georgia, and especially Troup County, providing them with this really high-quality education that has a center that is affiliated with the Methodist Church. And then those young people end up staying and they become teachers and nurses and entrepreneurs and pastors and artists and community leaders here in Troup County and in Georgia. And I think that that as goes LaGrange College, so goes Troup County. I mean, I think that we're really that integral into what's happening here with the community and economic development.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, the numbers say it, doesn't it? It speaks so loudly.
It does, and again, personally, that's why I find it such a blessing to be able to do what I do. As a Vice President for Advancement, I am in charge of marketing, development, which is fundraising, and alumni community relations. So I know some folks are quite nervous about talking about money or quite nervous about asking someone else for money, but for me, I have absolutely no problem asking someone, will you give $25,000 to create a scholarship so that a first-generation college student can go to college? I mean, what greater thing could I do, Will Jones, than that? Because I know how that student's life will be changed. Mm-hmm. And at LaGrange College, about 1/3 of our students are what we call first-generation college students. So they're the first in their family to go to college. I think that's probably one of the things that might surprise some people about LaGrange College. Yes, we are a private college. We are affiliated with the Methodist Church, but we're not your typical private college. 1/3 of our students are first-generation. About almost 20% of our students, I think it's 18%, are what we call full need students. So when they fill out the federal financial aid form, the FAFSA, it comes back and says that that family can be expected to pay zero towards that student's education because of their financial situation. So we have some of the neediest of the needy in American higher education studying at LaGrange College. So about 1 out of 5 are full need. About 44% of our traditional undergraduate students are eligible for Pell Grants. So again, we are taking students who normally wouldn't go to college, might not get into a private college. We're taking those students and we are partnering with them, and those students and the faculty members, they're transforming those students' lives and changing their destinies forever. Mm-hmm. And again, adding value back to LaGrange and Troup County.
Let's just say that I'm a parent of a child that's going to graduate this year or even next year, and I'm unemployed. I mean, maybe I have no provision for them to go to college. What would you say to them about considering LaGrange College, and how do they go about actually applying to see if they could possibly get into college? What would that be for them? How would they do it?
Well, we're very fortunate in Georgia to have the Hope Scholarship.
Right.
So if
they got good.
If you have good grades, you basically have the guarantee of a college education. I think one of the things that we battle at LaGrange College is letting folks know that we are highly competitive in terms of the amount of aid that we offer, so that if you're choosing between a couple of state colleges, you really should take a look at LaGrange, because it may not be that much more expensive for you to get a value-added education. So perhaps for another $1,000, you might be able to attend LaGrange College, or for a couple thousand more, be able to attend LaGrange College. And again, get the value that you get at a LaGrange education, where you're one of 12 students in a classroom as opposed to one of 400 students in a classroom.
Absolutely.
And the professor knows you by name, and we're going to remember your success story by name. We're going to go out and brag about you because of what you've done over your 4 years, as opposed to being one of 4,000 students that might graduate on graduation day. Mm-hmm. But to get back to your question, how can a person finance a college education? Well, if you're a family that has financial need, I think you're going to get all the help that you would need in order to be able to attend a school like LaGrange.
So if you have the desire.
If you have the desire, the dollars, I think, will appear. So there's federal financial aid, state financial aid, and then at LaGrange College we have what's called institutional aid. So we have an endowment of about $55 million, and income off that endowment is used for student aid, so that we can supply additional scholarship dollars for students.
Wow. So there's no reason.
No reason. Come to LaGrange College.
It's changed your life.
Absolutely.
Probably saved your life.
It did. I would think so.
I would imagine when you go back, I know it's still precious to you because that's home.
Absolutely.
I would imagine you're one of I don't know if you're one of the few, but there's probably not a tremendous amount of success stories out of that holler, is there? Or are there quite a few?
There are some. Certainly, if you grow up there, the odds are stacked against you. So you're swimming upstream. But thank God for God's grace and mercy, and for the power of education and opportunities to have your life changed.
Yeah.
And
now you have 6 little ones.
We do. Amy and I, yes, we enjoy 6 children. Yeah, and for 2 people who thought we'd never be able to have kids, it's quite a miracle in itself. I remember sitting with my wife and crying because she was crying that we would not be able to have kids, and so we adopted 2 and had 2 thanks fertility doctors and 2 big surprises at the end to prove the doctors wrong. Yeah.
And so, but look at the seeds, truly, that you're going to plant, and that have already been planted, but the harvest that's going to come. And you see, when we plant integrity and we plant Christ in people's lives, we have the opportunity to watch them grow and multiply. I heard a pastor that I dearly love. My dad passed away about 5 years ago. And we were talking about it one day, and Brad said, your dad still doesn't have all of his reward yet. And we know, according to Scripture, we are going to be rewarded one day. He said it's still growing. I mean, the seed that he planted, the harvest is still in the process. He's still harvesting from those seeds that he planted. And that's the thing about our life. That's why we call this program, and I loved it because you said making a difference. That's the name of this program, is You Make the Difference. Because Christ in us is the hope of glory, and we can make a difference wherever we go. And as a father, not only as a father at the college, helping the students there, you are a father to these 6 little ones. Then you're planting the seed of life in them, and the importance of education and integrity and stuff. And so the harvest is going to come from that. I think sometimes we don't look at the whole, we can't. In our humanness, we can't see the whole big picture.
Exactly.
But when we plant something, just again, going back to the Pilgrims, what they did, when they came to Plymouth Rock, and what they've done for our, we have lived in the greatest country that's ever been in the world at the best time in history. And I think sometimes why God must have chosen me. I mean, I don't know if you look at it that way, but I really do. Why would he choose me to live in the greatest country, the freest country, at this particular time in history? What an awesome thing to have that responsibility. I believe that Moses and the greats in our history would just, this is the century. I believe that they would have said, if I could look through time and pick it, it would be now, because we live in such a wonderful, and even in the worst state in America, we're so far above so many of the elite, even in other countries. And so how blessed we are.
We are blessed, and it comes with a great obligation, as you're pointing out.
It does, doesn't it? And that obligation is education and helping people see how they can give back. So I think if we ever get a hold of that truth, that and I teach that again and again on this program, and when I do my women's conferences and things, is the Bible is very clear. He says, I created you for a purpose. I knew while you were in your mother's womb. I actually knew you before the foundations of the world. Now, my mind has a hard time, that little limited mind, in getting around that truth. But it's there nonetheless, and so it's true. And so he sent us here for a purpose. And it's so important that we complete that purpose. And in doing that, we help young people. Maybe somehow along the way I'll help encourage someone else to see the God in them that he wants to express, because he chose to use you and I as vessels to express himself to a world. And that's exciting to think that we can make a difference in somebody's life. So that's exciting. I never like to close the broadcast without reminding you a couple things. I'm doing right now we're hosting the On the Brink of the Rapture every Thursday night at 7 o'clock. And 40 reasons why we could be the generation that might see the return of Christ. It's just, what this Fritz Porter, Reverend Fritz Porter out of Atlanta, she is a prophecy teacher, exciting teacher. She has a lot of information, and there's just so many things that's coming together now. So I would like to encourage you. Maybe you've missed the first few weeks. You can go to her website and actually read her book. You can download her book for free. You can purchase a book if you'd like your own copy of the book, in a hardbound edition. But she explains to you why she believes that we really could be the generation that might see the return of Christ. And again, that's at 7 p.m. every Thursday through the 27th of October. Now that night will be our final presentation, and it will be a 1-hour program. It's only 30 minutes right now, so you can catch it and just spend 30 minutes catching up with the 40 reasons. But at 7 p.m. on the 27th, we will host a 1-hour live program where we will answer the questions that you've texted or called into the ministry, and that's going to be at the end of the program where you can see where you can do all that. So we want to answer your questions that you may have about it, because there's a lot of questions I still have. So I want to encourage you to watch that program, and we look forward to that closing program. I also want to extend to you an invitation. If you don't know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, He came to this earth over 2,000 years ago. God sent His only Son to die for you and I, that we might have eternal life and spend eternity with Him. It was the ultimate sacrifice. He required perfectness in us, and the only way we can be perfect is through the shed blood of Jesus Christ. And if you know right now that you need Jesus to come into your heart and help be the Lord of your life, just simply right where you are, just simply say, Father, I know that I am a sinner, and I know that the only way I can ever be what you've called me to be is to ask Jesus Christ into my heart, and I accept that He died for me at Calvary. I want Him to become the Lord of my life. And right where you are, if you simply prayed that prayer right now, Jesus has said, come on, my child. I'm ready to begin to show you the plans and purposes I have for your life. If you made that decision, call me at 770-309-8635, and I would love to celebrate with you and get you plugged in maybe if you have some questions about some local churches. We've got wonderful pastors throughout this community that would love to be your shepherd and help serve you as you grow in the Lord. Remember, you make the difference, because Christ in you and I is truly the hope of glory. See you next week. Bye-bye now.